Hello, thank you for listening. My name is Dmitri Volkov, and I want to tell you a story from a time when I was just 32 years old. A time when my real name was a state secret, buried so deep I sometimes feared I would forget it myself. Before the war, my world was built of words. I was a journalist in Leningrad. I believed in the power of a well-structured sentence, the irrefutable truth of a documented fact. A story, I thought, was a tool for clarity. You gather the pieces, the quotes, the dates, the eyewitness accounts, and you assemble them to reveal a truth. You build a bridge of understanding for the reader. My hands were stained with printer's ink, not blood. My battles were fought with editors over commas and headlines. The war, it turned my craft inside out. The NKVD saw my skills not as a way to reveal truth, but to construct a lie. A perfect, airtight, believable lie. My new name was Franz Hauser. My new life was a story I wrote and performed every single day, a fiction so detailed it had to be more real than reality itself. I was no longer a journalist. I was the story. And my job was to uncover the enemy's next chapter before they had a chance to write it. People imagine espionage is a game of grand deceptions and daring escapes. They are wrong. It is a slow, meticulous process of collecting footnotes and marginalia. But sometimes, a single footnote can scream louder than an artillery barrage, and you are the only one who can hear it. It is summer 1944. The air in this part of Poland is thick, heavy with the smell of coal smoke, hot metal, and something else, a cloying sweetness I can never place. Despair, maybe. It hangs in the air just like the dust. For 18 months I have been Franz Hauser, a railway dispatcher from Dresden. A man of quiet efficiency, a man who keeps his head down, his papers in order, and his opinions to himself. A perfectly forgettable cog in the great German machine of logistics and transport. My German is flawless, a Berliner's crisp accent sanded down by a plausible Saxon upbringing. My hands are calloused from levers and stained with grease. My face is a mask of weary indifference. I am invisible, and that is my armor. My real work happens in the quiet moments. In the flicker of a lamp over a shipping manifest, in a loose word from a drunken officer in the canteen, in the chalk marks on a freight car that tell a story of troop strengths and destinations. I am a listening post, a nerve ending for the Red Army, gathering the 1,000 tiny details that will form the map of the coming Lublin-Brest Offensive. Every detail I collect is a drop of blood for our soldiers, a life saved, a step closer to home. To Leningrad, the name itself is a prayer and a curse on my tongue. The memory of its frozen, starving streets is the fuel that burns away my fear. This day is like any other. The sun beats down on the steel rails until they shimmer. The yard is a cacophony of hissing steam, the percussive slam of coupling cars, and the shouted German commands that slice through the air. I am in the dispatcher's office, a cramped wooden box that smells of stale tobacco and sweat. The work is mundane: timetables, cargo logs, routing requests. I am checking the manifest for a special transport, scheduled for 2 nights from now. It is designated Sonder-Aktion 4B, Special Action. A sterile bureaucratic term that always makes the hairs on my neck stand up. My eyes scan the details. Origin: Gestapo headquarters in Lublin. Destination: a small, isolated siding in the Parksu forest, a place with no industry, no depot, nothing but trees. Cargo, listed as Resettlement Personnel, 20 cattle cars. Empty on the outbound journey, scheduled for return, also empty. The return journey is routed through a sanitation and cleaning depot, standard procedure for agricultural transports, but these are not for livestock. An SS Sturmbannführer, a man I know by sight named Richter, enters the office. He moves with the arrogant indolence of a man who has never been told no. He doesn't look at me, the humble railway worker. I am furniture. He speaks to the station master, Herr Schmidt, a fat, sweating party man whose fear of the SS is a sour perfume. The schedule for 4B is confirmed. Richter's voice is flat, bored. Yes, Herr Sturmbannführer. 200 hours Thursday, all cleared down the line. Richter taps a riding crop against his immaculate black leather boot, a rhythmic, impatient sound. The siding is secure. The personnel are being rounded up from Zalesie and the surrounding farms. Local partisans have been a nuisance. This will serve as a lesson in obedience. Make sure there are no delays. Efficiency is paramount. Zalesie. My blood runs cold. It is a village not 5 kilometers from here. I see the people every day. The farmers who bring produce to the market, the women with worn, tired faces, the children who watch the trains with wide, silent eyes. These are the resettlement personnel, a village full of them, a lesson in obedience. The journalist in me, the man who used to piece together facts, sees the story laid bare. It is not written in ink, but in the cold arithmetic of logistics. 20 cars, an isolated track, a return trip through a cleaning station, an SS officer talking about a lesson. This is not a resettlement. This is a liquidation. A neat, tidy, and utterly monstrous operation, hidden in the columns of a railway ledger. For a moment, I am no longer Franz Hauser. I am Dmitri Volkov of Leningrad. I see not the fields of Poland, but the Piskaryevskoy cemetery. I see the mass graves, the endless trenches filled with my neighbors, my friends, the hollow-eyed women who had forgotten how to weep. The methodical, industrial starvation of my city was a slow execution. This is the same evil, just moving at the speed of a train. The Sturmbannführer relieves. Schmidt wipes his brow, avoiding my eyes. He knows. Of course, he knows. And he will do nothing. Why should he? He is a good German. And what am I? I am an agent of the Oddolnaya Motostrelkovaya Brigada Osobogo Nazначenia, a soldier of a special purpose brigade. My purpose is singular. Gather intelligence for the offensive. The information I hold, the map of German armor placements and supply lines I am slowly assembling in my head, is worth divisions. Tens of thousands of Soviet lives depend on it. My cover, the carefully constructed fiction of Franz Hauser, is the most valuable asset I possess. If it is compromised, the entire network in this sector could collapse. The offensive could falter. More of our boys would die. This is the cold logic of my training. Report the atrocity, yes, send it up the chain. It will be another fact for the prosecutors at the tribunals after we have won, but do not act, do not interfere. The lives of one Polish village weighed against a Soviet armored division. The calculation is brutal, it is simple. It is the calculus of war. My thoughts are stripped gears, grinding uselessly against each other. The spy, the instrument of the state, tells me to do nothing. Let them die. The mission is everything. But the man, the writer from Leningrad who watched his city bleed, screams in protest. The faces of the children from Zalesie flash in my mind. They are not abstract numbers in a strategic calculation. They are stories waiting to be written. And the SS is about to erase them all, to burn the manuscript before the first chapter is even finished. To warn them is to risk everything. The local resistance, the Armia Krajowa, is active but fractured. They trust no one, least of all a German railway worker. A direct approach is suicide. An anonymous warning, incredibly risky. The Gestapo would tear this place apart looking for the source. They would question everyone. And my perfect cover, my flawless story of Franz Hauser, might not survive that kind of scrutiny. Fear is a physical thing. It is a cold knot in my gut, a metallic taste in my mouth. It is the fear of the unmasking, of the interrogation cellar in Lublin, of failing my country, my comrades, the memory of my city. I sit there, staring at the ledger. The ink on the page seems to mock me. Such neat lines, such clean, simple words. Resettlement personnel, a lie. My whole life here is a lie, but my lie is meant to serve a greater truth, the truth of our victory. This lie on the page serves only death. Which lie do I honor? The hours crawl by. The sun sets, painting the sky in shades of blood and rust. The night shift takes over. I walk back to my small, lonely room. I sit at the table. In front of me I have a cheap notepad and a pencil. For my entire life I have used these tools to record the truth. Now I must use them to try and save it. But how? My mind races, sorting through possibilities, discarding them. Every plan seems to lead to exposure, but the image of the empty cattle cars waiting in the darkness, it will not leave me. The ghosts of Leningrad are in the room with me. They whisper we were left to die. Will you do the same to them? The decision crystallizes not as a logical conclusion, but as a physical imperative. I cannot do nothing. It is a betrayal of everything that made me human before the war took my name. I have a contact, a cutout, a baker in the town who smuggles information to the partisans. I'm not supposed to use him for anything but the most critical military intelligence. This is not military intelligence. This is a matter of conscience, but I will frame it as a military matter. My hand is steady as I write the note. I use a coded phrasing we established, one that sounds innocuous. The agricultural shipment for the Parksu siding has been contaminated. Recommend diverting stock to a new pasture immediately. The soil is poisoned. Contaminated shipment, poisoned soil. They will understand it is the best I can do. The next step is the most dangerous. I cannot deliver it. I have to leave it. The dead drop is a loose brick in the wall behind the bakery. It is a 2-kilometer walk in the dark under curfew. Every shadow is an SS patrol. Every dog's bark is an alarm. I tuck the note into my boot. I put on my worker's coat. I become Franz Hauser one last time, a man taking a late walk to clear his head. My heart is a frantic drum against my ribs. I am no longer a spy hiding in plain sight. I am a target moving through the dark. I make it. The brick is cool and rough under my trembling fingers. I slip the note inside, replace the brick, and walk away. I do not run. I force myself into the slow, plodding gait of a tired German worker. The walk back to my room is the longest journey of my life. I don't sleep. I sit by the window, listening, waiting for the sounds of sirens that will mean I have failed. They never come. 2 days later, I am in the yard when the news arrives. Not officially, but in whispers, in the furious, hushed tones of the German railway guards. There was an attack, a partisan raid near Zalesie. An ambush on the SS convoy that was rounding up the civilians. It was a bloodbath. The SS unit was decimated. Many of the villagers scattered into the forest. Some were caught, many were not. The Sonder-Aktion is a catastrophic failure. Sturmbannführer Richter is apoplectic. An investigation is launched. There is a traitor, a leak. I stand by the tracks, my face a mask of mild curiosity, my hands gripping a wrench so tightly my knuckles are white. I watch the empty cattle cars being shunted onto a forgotten siding, their grim purpose unfulfilled. I did not save them all. The story did not have a happy ending, but it did not end in a silent, unmarked grave in the Parksu forest. The story will continue, and I am still Franz Hauser. My secret is safe. My primary mission is intact, but something inside me has shifted. The cold, clear lines of my duty are now blurred. I spent the rest of my life building things with words, first as an intelligence analyst, and then, after the war, I returned to journalism. I went back to the comfort of facts, of stories with a beginning, a middle, and an end. But I never again believed that any story was truly simple. That day in Poland taught me that the most important truths are not found in official reports or grand histories. They are hidden in the margins, in the footnotes, scrawled on a scrap of paper and thrust into the dark. I sent the intelligence that helped our armies break through the German lines. I did my duty. I served my country. But the report I never filed, the one about the contaminated shipment and the poisoned soil, is the one that defines me. It was an act of insubordination, an act of treason against the cold logic of espionage. And it was the most fundamentally human thing I did in that entire war. The hardest lesson is this. You are told to see the world as a chessboard, to sacrifice a pawn to save a king, but people are not pawns, they are stories. Each one a universe of memories, sorrows, and hopes. The most difficult part of my work was not learning to lie to the enemy, but learning when to stop lying to myself, to stop pretending that the ledger I was balancing was only filled with numbers and not with human souls. This memory is a piece of shrapnel I carry. It's heavy. Help me carry it. Subscribe and ensure these stories are never left to rust in silence.